What's up guys, it's Farron and I'm back with another video. This time I wanted to talk, well, it's another Bayonetta theories video, which I'm sure you already know by the title and thumbnail of the video. But I hadn't had a whole lot of more, I don't really have a whole lot of more Bayonetta theory videos or any Bayonetta related videos for Bayonetta 3 because there's really so little to go off of. But there was something that I've been thinking about for a while, and somebody in the comments had actually reignited the thought in my mind, and that was the concern that we may not play as Bayonetta in Bayonetta 3. Now, I didn't mention that in my Bayonetta 3 concerns video because it's not a concern of mine, right? I'm not concerned of not playing as Bayonetta in Bayonetta 3. It's Bayonetta's game. It's always been about Bayonetta. It's literally called Bayonetta. So I've never been, that's not a concern of mine, right? The only thing that was even close to that was the idea that they might turn Bayonetta into a man, which I mentioned in my concerns video that that's not really a concern. It's just something that I think is so outrageous and off-putting that I really would hate to see them do that to what is otherwise already an amazing character as she is. But it's not really a concern. So I'm not concerned about Bayonetta not being a playable character in Bayonetta 3. And in fact being obviously the main character of her own game. But then I started to think, what if that character that we saw in the teaser that obviously looked like Bayonetta, but yet there was those inconsistencies that she didn't have that Bayonetta should have had? What if that was actually a different character? What if that was actually Rosa? I don't believe we've ever seen Rosa's unconcealed face, right? I don't believe we've ever seen her without any garb or some kind of covering her face. In fact, rather pretty much covering her whole body. You know, compared to Bayonetta, Rosa is dressed like almost like a dark nun almost because of all the cloth that's hanging down and everything. I mean, you see her figure, but you don't really see her body. You know, when she does her moves, you don't her suit doesn't come apart, even though I believe it's supposed to still be made from her hair, I think. But that doesn't happen. You don't see her unconcealed. And so you don't really get to see her body or see her face in particular. I don't think there's any point where you ever see Rosa's face completely visible, you know, without any coverings, without being concealed, right? So we don't actually know what she exactly looks like, right? But in Bayonetta 1, little Cereza, when she's time displaced and she sees Bayonetta, and she totally, without a doubt, believes that's her mother, right? She believes Bayonetta is her mummy, right? She doesn't even think twice about it. She doesn't like, is this my mother? No, she's like, that's totally my mom. Totally my mom. She latches onto her. She totally believes it's her, right? Even though Bayonetta is like, look, I'm not your mommy. What are you, crazy little girl? Are you insane? I didn't even, what? So she believes it. Little Cereza, she totally believes it. Now, what does that say? Well, obviously, Bayonetta has a striking resemblance to Rosa. So when Bayonetta grows up, or when Cereza grows up, she has a striking resemblance to Rosa, her mother, to the point where Bayonetta, or Cereza herself as a child, believes that herself as an adult is her mom. So that must mean, right there, that means Cereza is identical to Rosa when they're both adults. Obviously, Bayonetta got her hairstyle from her mother. In fact, when Bayonetta's first found by Antonio Redgrave, Luca's father, he finds her in that lake. When he opens up that sarcophagus or whatever, and she comes up out of it, she's wearing her Bayonetta 1 outfit, but she has, if I remember correctly, she had that butterfly motif style eyewear that her mother in Bayonetta 2, Rosa, is wearing, right? She doesn't have her normal glasses that we're used to seeing her have. She had that other eyewear that her mother has. So Bayonetta, probably her original style, was thoroughly inspired by her mother. Like almost everything that she was. In fact, she's probably, one could argue that maybe she's very influenced by her mother because her mother was, obviously Rosa was a very powerful witch. And so in fact, now that I think about it, Cereza, when she's younger and she's talking to Luca, and she's like, she wants to, you know, protect everyone, and she's going to be just like her mother. And then she does that Ultraman pose or whatever, the Hollywood Hulk Hogan. You know, that when she does that, right, it's like, okay, she clearly is inspired by her mother. She wants to be just like her. So that's down to how she fights. That's down to her fashion sense. Everything. So when Cereza sees young displaced Cereza, time displaced Cereza sees older Cereza, adult Cereza, Bayonetta, she thinks it's her mother, Rosa. There's probably not a good chance they share the exact same beauty marks though, right? So if you look at the teaser, one of the main things that's different is that the Bayonetta 3 teaser, Bayonetta's beauty mark, it wasn't there. It's not there. Then the weapons, look at her weapons. Bayonetta, when she's talking to Rodin in Bayonetta 1, Rodin says to Bayonetta, "Don't break these, because they're one of a kind." Right? That's what he says. He says something along those lines. So he pulls the curtain, the cloth off the weapons, and it's the Scarborough Fair. And Bayonetta licks her lips, and she's all happy and enticed, and she grabs him, and they start doing all that funky stuff, right? And she's like, pole dancing on his table and throwing the guns on her heels and all that's right. Now, he says that they're one of a kind, which means there's no other guns like them as far as Bayonetta knows. But Rodin's been around for a long time, so he's probably had time to build other weapons like them to perfect his craft. And that the Scarborough Fair were the most current versions of those guns, just like in the Bayonetta anime, right? There was I think the Elm Knight or something like that, and those were like basically they're like lesser versions of the Scarborough Fair. They took a concept of the Scarborough Fair, or an original concept, but they weren't as strong, and they ended up crumbling. And then he created the Scarborough Fair, which were a lot more powerful and durable, and could keep up with Bayonetta's magic without breaking apart. So one would imagine Rodin's had to, experiment, and as time goes on, he makes stronger and stronger, more competent, more durable weapons. So the Scarborough Fair were probably just his best attempt at making that type of weapon that he's had in a while. The Scarborough Fair, and then the Awful One, because Jean has a pair too. And then later on, he makes the Love is Blue. So if you think about it, in the teaser of Bayonetta 3, you see the character wielding weapons that appear to be called the Whittingham Fair, which also looks like Rodin's work. It looks just like the Scarborough Fairs, but they're called something different. What if that's just another way for the designers to draw more parallels to the similarities between Bayonetta or Cereza and Rosa? What if, now this all just me theorizing here. It's just me looking at the evidence that I've seen and thinking, what would explain these things? What would explain the inconsistencies? I mean, if Cereza herself as a child didn't even know the difference between herself and her mom, that must mean that she looks that similar. And we can't really say that she doesn't, because when we see Rosa in Bayonetta 2, it looks pretty much like Bayonetta. In fact, she's voiced by Helena Taylor or Atsuko Tanaka. And so it's obviously the similarities are there in so many ways. There's so many parallels that can be drawn, that if this was the first time we're seeing Rosa, it could actually just be her, and that's actually just, Bayonetta. When we see Bayonetta in Bayonetta 1, that's just Bayonetta just being incredibly influenced by Rosa's style, from the eyewear all the way down to her entire outfit and her hairstyle and her fighting style. That's just all from her mother. She just thoroughly influenced from her mother, and this game, Bayonetta 3, is actually us playing as Rosa. That's the only way I could see us not playing as Bayonetta. And the teaser could have just been, maybe, because we know that Rosa dies at the hands of Lopter, right? So this could either be before that happens, right? Maybe this is Rosa before she made a union with Baldur, before she had Bayonetta. Maybe it goes that far back. Or maybe, so that would have been when she's at her A game, when she was still, before she was dressed up and she was all chained up and concealing her face and everything. Or maybe it's after she was killed by Lopter, and now she's fighting for her life in Inferno, because after you die as a witch, more than likely you're being dragged straight to hell, right? Because the pact that you make. Maybe she's fighting for her life, or her life is already taken, but she's fighting for her soul in Inferno, because the enemy that she's fighting against actually looks like whoever it is must be of Inferno, right? And the reason for that observation is because of the purple flame. We know that the purple aura or purple flame is pretty much always in Bayonetta identified with dark magic. Whether it's Rodin's purple flame as a demon, or whether it's Bayonetta or Jean or Rosa's magic power that consumes their bodies whenever they have full magic gauge. They get consumed with this purple aura all around their bodies. So whoever that is must be some kind of incredibly powerful demonic creature, if the purple flame is to be believed to still represent demonic. and in theory it should. So what if she's actually in Inferno fighting for her soul, but she ends up losing? Because we never know. We don't know what happens to Rosa's soul. We actually don't know. We know that she dies, but once if she dies, if the way it works is a witch dies and they end up in hell, well, we know that that Rosa dies for sure, but we don't know what happened to her after she died. We don't know what happened to Rosa's soul. And if I could take it a step further. If for all those people who were saying that they think that the flaming figure was Rodin, then if this is Rosa, what if? Because I always thought it couldn't necessarily, it may probably not be Rodin, because if that's Bayonetta he's fighting, why the heck would he kill Bayonetta? What? It didn't make any sense. He needs her. He uses her as his guinea pig for his weapons experiments. That's the most important thing to him, is just making more powerful weapons. Even if he was forsaken, if he was shunned from heaven, he didn't care. He just wanted to make more powerful weapons. That was the most important thing to him. So he was probably just making blasphemous experiments, and they wasn't having that in Paradise, in Paradiso. But if that's Rosa, what if he didn't give a damn about Rosa? At least not back then. What if he was more interested in taking her soul and using that as a weapon? Because we don't know what happened to Rosa's soul. What if Rodin got his hands on him? Because we know that Rodin, in Bayonetta 2, Rodin straight up tells Bayonetta when she's in Inferno, after that fight with Alruna, or no, Alrunane, or whatever her name is, or it was either before or after, it was right before or right after, he straight up says to Bayonetta, if she ended up getting lost in Inferno, he would have been all over her soul like a hungry hyena. That's what he tells her. And if you think about it, Jean's soul was in hell. Rodin didn't attempt to go get it. But he would attempt to get Bayonetta's though. And the reason is because he probably is thinking, well, in all of the eons or however long Rodin has been alive as a godlike creature on this planet, when will be the next time he ever gets a chance to fuse together a soul that also was the left eye of the world into a weapon? That would be something he'd probably never get another chance to do. That would definitely be a once in even a god's lifetime of an opportunity. What if that was the case with Rosa? What if he was like, yeah, Rosa's soul is magnificent, I want that? Who knows? I'm just saying, it's all up in the air, guys. I started thinking about that. I'm like, that could be, if this is a prequel, guys, that could very well be Rosa we're seeing in that teaser. And that would actually explain a lot of the inconsistencies to Bayonetta. All the things that look like it is Bayonetta, but then it's like, wait, but that's different. Oh, the weapon's different. Wait, her beauty mark's gone. If it's Rosa, that kind of explains all of it. So I don't know, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Do you see the parallels I'm finding here that I'm expressing? What other parallels do you guys see that could support the argument that it is Rosa that we're seeing in that teaser and that we may end up playing as Rosa in Bayonetta 3? What arguments would you say disproves that it's Rosa and it's actually still going to be Cereza? Let me know in the comment sections. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about this. Let me know what you think. I'll see you guys in the next video. This is Fahrenheit, signing out.